an important topic, EPUB3, Global Language Support and Comic. I'm the coordinator of the Enhanced Global Language Support Subgroup of the IDPF EPUB Working Group, which is designing EPUB. This is just an overview of EPUB. EPUB is an ebook format, and it is based on XML, and it is freely available. And there's a lot of momentum. I don't know what is going on in Europe very well, but I know that there's a lot of momentum in US, Taiwan, Korea, China, and Japan. And Apple, Google, Barnes & Noble, these companies are strongly promoting EPUB, and Amazon accepts EPUB as an input format. EPUB is designed by IDPF. There are two versions of EPUB. EPUB2, which is available right now, and EPUB3 should be available quite soon. Okay, this slide is intended to show the architecture of EPUB3. First, we have key components of web technology, HTML, CSS, SVG, and we have audio, video, and image. On top of it, as usual, we have JavaScript. Furthermore, we have some hint information for text-to-speech and synchronized multimedia for concurrent rendition of audio and text. But this is not good enough. To make a book, we need more. We need a cover sheet, we need spine, we need table of contents and indexes. And by the way, table of contents and indexes are just HTML documents, HTML5 documents in the XML syntax. Okay, but this is still not good enough. We have to pack everything using the zip technology. And furthermore, we provide metadata so that you can sell the book. And if needed, you attach signature and encryption. This is basically the architecture of EPUB, EPUB3. Okay, enhanced global language support. EPUB2, oops, this page is incorrect. Yes, this one. EPUB2 didn't really support Asian languages well. In particular, it doesn't support vertical writing. Here I have two books, and this is the cover page, and everything is written in vertical writing, and I'm reading this book now. Another one, the same. Vertical writing is common in Japan, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, and Inner Mongolian. Well, China and Korea occasionally use vertical writing still. For example, for poems. And the page progression is right to left in Asian languages. And in my understanding, Hebrew and Arabic languages also require right to left page progression. And it's missing in EPUB2. And we also need two-page spread for both page progression directions. For example, this comic, okay, this is two-page spread. And of course, we need fine control, which page should appear in this side and which in this side. If there's a mistake, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, to support these features, EPUB3 has done some interesting challenge. Well, most importantly, EPUB has adopted a CSS profile, and it is based on CSS 2.1, but it borrows some features from many other specs, including CSS 2.0, some omitted features, and some features from working drafts of CSS3. In particular, writing modes, which is for vertical writing, text level 3, Asian typography, fonts level 3, Ruby positioning. And there are other CSS working drafts which EPUB3 depend on. And EPUB also uses HTML5 Ruby. Sorry. And EPUB introduced its own mechanism for controlling page progression and two-page spread. Okay, demonstration. So this is a famous novel written by a Japanese, very famous guy, Natsume Soseki. Written this way. And scroll button, yes, scroll like this. This entire novel is displayed as an HTML document combined with CSS. This Ruby thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll show you the source code then. This is the source code. This uses Ruby. Yes, this is Ruby tag RBRT. So we use Ruby tags. This is Japanese. And this is Chinese. This is also a very famous novel in China and Taiwan and Hong Kong, I guess. This one is prepared by Japanese, so Taiwanese think there are some minor mistakes, but I don't understand the differences, and probably you don't either, unless you speak Chinese. Okay, I should then probably show the source code. Well, the most important thing is the CSS style sheet, which should be around here. Yes, default CSS. This is it. This says WebKit writing mode vertical RL, right to left. This makes the difference. This one also uses the same style sheet, I believe. Okay. The two examples I just demonstrated is just an HTML document and a CSS style sheet. It's not an EPUB3 package or publication yet, but the rest is just packing and table of contents. So EPUB3 should have no problems in handling this kind of Asian novels. Since this is a technical workshop, I'd like to mention schemas in EPUB. EPUB uses relaxing schemas and schematron schemas and no XSD. And EPUB borrows some schemas from W3C or some other parties. HTML5 schemas in relaxing. It was originally prepared by Fantasy, but I believe it is now maintained by Mozilla. And SVG 1.1 schemas in relaxing. This one was created from DTD, and I think the SVG working group is going to ask me to create relaxing schema for SVG 1.1 based on their SVG 1.2 relaxing schema. And MURATA3 already has a relaxing schema. And XML digital signature and encryption also has relaxing schemas, which is going to be published as a W3C note. Oops. So we heavily use relaxing. Okay. Now, Okay, now I'm going to wear my another hat. I'm the technical lead of an EPUB project funded by the Japanese government. This talk is actually prepared by my colleague Takase-san, who is also a member of that project. Okay, in Japan, ebook is actually quite common. And most of them are actually comics, about 81%. There are some editors for creating mobile phone comics, but there is a big problem. The problem is there are some proprietary formats and Japan-only formats, and these formats are used for such digital comic. As a result, it is practically impossible to export such digital comic. They are just specific to Japan. And by the way, PDF is not popular. So how about EPUB? There are many possibilities. The easiest possibility is to just use a collection of JPEG files and attach a spine and metadata. This should be very easy, and I'm sure that some publishers will do that. And yet another possibility is to create a very simple HTML document like this as a wrapper for an image. But this is not interesting. Since EPUB is based on web technologies, there are many interesting possibilities. I'll show you. Okay, I'm going to skip this. For example, media queries. Manga in this kind of small devices and manga in PCs are quite different. Well, on this kind of small devices, we usually see only one cell on screen. On big screens like this, we see one page in a printed manga, one page. At present, people prepare two versions of the same thing. But if we use EPUB and web technologies, we can do something different. For example, now this captures a single page, all cells in this single page. But if make the screen smaller, things become different. How do we do this? This is a media query. Depending on the screen size, different CSS style sheet is used. And this is the content of the EPUB document or EPUB manga. It has text and it references image files as well. And you notice that some Japanese text is also present. Okay, what happens if I slightly change the style sheet? Okay, I rewrote the style sheet. What will happen now? Am I using a different file? Maybe. Or is this because of the cache? Let me check. This is D. Haruko's boyfriend, text page 1.2. It should work. I seem to have done the right thing. Why it doesn't work? Is this because of the cache? Oh, I'm sorry. Control F5? Control F5. No. Oh, I might be using a different style sheet. But please believe me. If everything goes well, the text should be displayed in Japanese. It has P class narration text, JA, narration text. Yeah, lang attribute here, lang attribute here. I can't hear you. Oh. I'm afraid I have to give up for the lack of time. Sorry. But believe me, it worked. Well, the reason why we want to do this, because very often Japanese comics are scanned and published all over the world after translation, of course, without paying any money to the Japanese author and publisher. And the intention of this is to do, well, single source for publication all over the world, including mobile devices and PCs. This is just a possibility, but the use of web technology for EPUB opens some very interesting possibilities for the presentation of manga or comic. Okay. Oops, which one was I? Yes. Well, in the future, it might make sense to create some subset or profile of EPUB for the presentation of EPUB, manga. EPUB manga. Why? One problem of EPUB3 is it's very difficult to implement the full set of EPUB3. HTML, SVG, CSS, JavaScript, DOM, Smile, MathML. It's simply very difficult. Well, practically, you have to use WebKit very often. But if you want to create very cheap devices, you might want to, well, create a subset of EPUB3, which is dedicated to digital comic, and want to implement that features only, those features only. Okay, how many more minutes do I have? 5, okay. Okay, then let's go back to this one. Okay, I'm going to wear my another hat. I'm a co-convener of ad hoc group 4 EPUB of SE34. Now I'm going to talk about standardization of EPUB at ISO IEC. Background. Well, IDPF thinks that for promoting EPUB everywhere in the world, we have to make an ISO or IEC standard EPUB. Is this true, by the way? In Europe, is IDPF very well known or recognized as an international standardization organization? Or do you guys think that EPUB is just an American thing? How do you feel? Is EPUB a big thing in Europe? I'm curious. Who thinks EPUB is a big thing? Oh, some people think so, okay. Then who think that, well, Europe is not involved in the design of EPUB? Okay. Yes, IDPF doesn't want EPUB to be recognized as an American thing. So they are interested in ISO or IEC standardization.
What does IDPF stand for?
International Digital Publishing Forum. The very first slide in my talk, or when I was talking about the earthquake. Okay, and many committees in ISO or IEC are interested. Too many, actually. Since it is a big thing now, everybody would like to be involved. And some countries require national or ISO or IEC standard EPUB because they'd like to adopt EPUB as the format for digital textbook in compulsory education. Korea is a good example. They really want to adopt EPUB as a national standard this year. Well, this has just started, and it is not clear what will happen in ISO or IEC. But we have had 2 resolutions. First, SE34 had a resolution in Tokyo and decided to create an ad hoc group for EPUB. And that ad hoc group is chartered to speak with IDPF and other interested parties about possible standardization of EPUB. Then JTC1, Joint Technical Committee 1, had a plenary meeting in November and published a resolution, made a resolution, and it instructed SC34 to create a joint activity, inviting IDPF and other guys. So on the basis of 2 resolutions, Ad hoc Group 4 is now working. We had the first teleconference in February, and that one is just a preparatory, introductory meeting. IDPF reported what is happening. Of course, EPUB3 is not a done deal yet. IDPF only recently published the first working draft, and they have received so many comments. There have been, I believe, more than 200 comments. So it is not quite clear when IDPF can finish this. And in this meeting, teleconference, well, apart from SC34, ISO TC46 and IEC TC100 TA10 joined. And after that, we received some emails from other committees. For example, yesterday I received a letter from the chair of the Japanese MIRA Committee for SC36 education. Next week, well, actually this week, SC34 is going to have a plenary meeting. And in that meeting, we are not going to make any decisions. We only renew this ad hoc group. And we'll instruct it to continue this work for 6 more months. And we are likely to have a face-to-face meeting inviting IDPF and TC46, TA10 in November, and we'll make a decision. There are some technical problems. First, EPUB3 now refers to working drafts of W3C, which are not stable. In such cases, how can we bless EPUB3 as an ISO or IEC standard, or even a national standard? This is the problem. Or we might want to create some technical reports or technical specifications rather than a standard. That's also a possibility. And we don't really know. And when will W3C finish HTML5? As usual, this is a big question. Probably I should ask later. And CSS is also in progress. So EPUB3 is apparently chasing some moving targets. So it is not quite clear when EPUB3 can be really finalized and become stable. But I also firmly believe that EPUB3 is going to make a big difference and will change the ebook world. In particular, the web world and the ebook world are closely tied, and we can use the same technology for both. This is a great thing. Thank you.
Okay, question from George.
Thank you for the presentation. From what I know, the previous version of EPUB, the current version actually, specifies XHTML as the format
Yes.
and the new version moved to HTML5.
Right.
I think its polyglot markup is still XML basically.
True.
But I was wondering your position on this. I mean, how do you see this? It's a good thing? Or
Okay. First, I believe that there are many non-conformant EPUB publications that doesn't follow IDPF EPUB specification. For example, I'm aware that some people use non-Unicode encodings and they are disallowed by IDPF. And I'm sure that people will create non-XML HTML documents, no matter what IDPF says. By the way, IDPF is committed to XML, so it is very unlikely to allow non-XML HTML5.
We still have time. Oh, sorry.
And there is a check program called EPUB check. It validates everything against reaction schemas and schematron schemas. And Apple doesn't allow distribution of documents that don't pass the test. So those documents distributed by Apple iBook are guaranteed to be valid HTML5 documents in the XML syntax.
Okay. You probably time just for one question for who was first?
So my question is simply, does the ebook, the EPUB format have any information about the requirements of the viewing system in terms of the profile for all these things, writing direction? Do you support MathML? What do you, there's all these technologies, yet there's a minimum bar to actually correctly view a particular document.
Yes. Well, EPUB3 doesn't specify a lot about the required behavior of reading systems. You can safely ignore many CSS properties, and I'm sure you can also ignore some tags in HTML5, let alone vertical writing. So the spec itself allows a lot of flexibility. But implementations, well, there's some pressure on implementers for supporting everything or every important features. As a result, many people are inclined to use WebKit. Okay? Does this answer your question?
Yes. Okay. Liam Quinn, W3C. First, thank you for giving such an interesting talk and for coming in difficult times. It's much appreciated. You mentioned the difficulty that you face in CSS having working drafts, and I would like afterwards to talk to you about strengthening liaisons and about ways in which it's possible to progress those drafts more rapidly that other organizations need. That is a possibility, because some of the CSS drafts, they are waiting for implementations and for testing, And that's something that external organizations who are not otherwise participating in W3C even can help move a spec forward quickly. Okay, so maybe we can work together a little bit. And
Well, I mentioned the Japanese government project about EPUB, and it is trying to create a collection of CSS test suite. And well, they submitted some test documents, and Fantasy is reviewing the test documents. So we are hopeful about that. So we are already doing that work.
So thank you very much again for your nice presentation. And next speaker will be Tony Graham, also about EPUB, but